feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, actually, I guess it's more of an evening time. I always get confused with 5. I have another guest with me, Michael, or is it Ortegi? I'm so awful. I just massacred this man. Oretade.
Sorry, good, man.
That makes a lot more sense. Michael Oretade. He is a Green Party member that's running for Senate in Hartford, the state Senate. And he represents the Hartford district, District 1. And you can definitely check out his platforms and definitely donate to him. I have the link, which is MikeForConnecticut, right here at the bottom. Welcome today, Michael. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much. We were supposed to do it earlier.
Yeah, I know. I had a podcast meeting with Howie Hawkins.
Yeah.
He was the presidential candidate for the Green Party back in 2020.
Amazing.
So that was an honor to work with him and be on his podcast.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Shouts out to Howie. I'm familiar with him. I like I've said before to your campaign manager, I definitely try to do a lot as I can to help out with the Green Party. I know I'm a PSL member, but we have a great friendship, and it's great that we can show a coalition like this with me being a PSL member, you being a Green Party member. We're literally talking about the same issues, something that the Democrats and Republicans or any other group really can't. Yeah, that's the problem with capitalism. But I want to, since you're new to the show, I want to get like a good brief background for the audience so they can know what you do. You're an entrepreneur. You used to have, or you still have an independent music label.
So I had a record label for a few years. It was essentially dissolved, during the pandemic because we were literally gearing up to go on a tour, and that was impossible with the height of the pandemic. Not only that, but I have a small comic book company out in the Philippines that is also suffering now. But I'm actually in the process of getting animation done for it to possibly get a Kickstarter or GoFundMe to fund that project so that my artists can focus solely on on that creative project. That is called Umbral. So I'm hoping to get the support for that for the next 2 years. We don't need a lot for that. And hopefully that series blows up the way it should, because that series so far is at 30,000 reads and 2,000 subscribers with an abysmal budget. So once we get an actual budget for it, it'll be like the next big thing.
Okay. Absolutely awesome. So you got a lot of things lined up. And one thing I love is reading your bio is about how you got involved as being an activist. And we had a crazy 2020 year, not even just talking about COVID, just the conversation about racial injustice finally comes back to the forefront again, as it always keeps coming back. People do the best they can. I mean, you see it now. You see Democrats. I guess we're already getting to this point right here. You see it, Democrats, and we're going to racial justice, which is part of his one of his issues that he takes up. during for his campaign. Everyone, just to clarify while we're getting right into this. But yeah, you see that even the Democrats are you be Joe Biden saying, "Oh, we don't want to defund the police. We want to give them more money. We want to
Yeah.
give them everything they ask for to make them feel better, to make them feel that they're being protected as well." It has literally turned into that conversation so fast. It's funny how both sides are so
And
bipartisan with that.
right, and it just goes back to like, can we truly depend on the Democratic Party to represent the needs of the people? And I don't believe that we can. That's the reason why I joined the
Mm,
Green Party, because I feel like we're living in a duopoly right now, and that duopoly has the same perspective. Just one appears to be more liberal, but at the end of the day, they're on the same page as the individuals who are conservative. So now, do we
right.
truly want to continue with the party as it stands now, or do we want to make a difference and start to build up our own party? And that's what my attempt is with the Green Party. Um, in regards to racial justice, I began my journey in the advent of the murder of George Floyd, and it was a wake up call for me.
Mm,
These issues have always existed, but it was time for
right.
me to step up. I had essentially got a calling. I don't know if it was spiritual or universal or what it was, but that voice, that calling, that spirit told me that I need to run, that I need to do something. I need to march, and that's what I'm
Mm,
doing now. Well, that's what I did. Is I decided to go out in the streets, and everything just almost came together in divinity. People marched all over the state of Connecticut. We had let hundreds of people throughout the streets, thousands of times, and that was
mm,
all for justice and to hold our police accountable, because individuals were dying here in Connecticut. Same situations
right.
happening here, and those stories don't make national news when somebody's shot and killed by the police, or brutally maimed, or rendered paralyzed, as the most recent case with Randy Cox. Ben Crump
Right.
came down to Connecticut a week or so ago. In regards to that issue, a man by the name of Randy Cox was rendered paralyzed after he was not safe in the in a police vehicle,
Right.
and that's because of their negligence. And we have that
Right.
issue with our police, where they feel as though they can get away with treating us like dirt, because they believe that they are above us. Goes
Right.
back to their origins, being slave
Right.
catchers. You know, uh, so we have an obligation to acknowledge that, and start the preparative process to change the way we view policing, the way we view police. They don't need more funding. Our police officers don't need tanks and assault rifles and things like that. What they need is to get out into the community and do more community engagement. And that's if we even decide to continue going with what is known as our police force
Mm,
as it is today. I would prefer if we had
mm,
more mental health supports in the community,
mm,
more access to mental health supports in our community, more access to jobs, um, more access to opportunity. And that is the way that we can elevate and get out of this position that we're in. But instead, uh, and it's not even, you could tell it's not about money, because our government has no problem spending all that money on keeping individuals incarcerated, opposed to just funding the programs that individuals need in order to not commit crimes. Uh, we're working in the opposite direction. We have always worked in the opposite direction. How about we pay for more programs, pay nonprofits to start more programs, job training, put more mental health for us in the schools, universalize our early childhood education system so our children can go to school for free, so that individuals living in poverty have the support that they need, and support the people who are the very foundation of this country. We built this country on our backs, yet we don't get the respect and support that we need. Hold on, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I muted my mic to make sure that
It's
there
okay.
was no interference. So yeah, you said a lot of really, really great things, um, and I think what the ask is that you are giving is honestly something that a lot of people will freak out about, but also have to understand that what's happening right now is not working out. And there's other countries that have actually have practice what you're asking for. It's not even like this is a totally new idea. There is other countries that have first responding social workers compared to cops. There's other countries that have these type of systems of incarcerating someone, but is as a rehabilitation, not selling them out, not basically using them for the rest of their lives off of free labor and slave wage, very very slave wage when you're in prison. A lot of these. Just building up infrastructure or guaranteeing good jobs, all these things they should work in other countries. And America is very good at making it sound like, especially with the police issue, there's no other way. And we have to continue to remind them that there is other ways.
Right. And it's
Because
sad.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah.
But hopefully, once I'm in office, I'll be able to make some change, some significant change here in the state of Connecticut, by
Hmm.
ensuring that these supports are gone out, because we have things coming here like 988, which will coincide with our 211. That's supportive to our houseless population and our people who are suffering from a mental health crisis. The thing is that those systems the way that they are right now, they are currently operating the same way that our police responders are. And we need to make sure that they do no longer do that, that we have a system more akin to the STAR program out in Denver. That's something like what we need here in Connecticut, and it needs to be fully funded.
Now, housing is another one that is a very um, it can become a topic that a lot of people do not want to hear because they automatically think that if you really wanted housing, whatever you're doing, and you become homeless, that's your problem. I remember having conversations like this with a lot of individuals, and I get it, the working our working class, we don't really see as much as what's going on because we're so busy working. So that's why it's so important to have these conversations. But there's a huge like fear pushback against it. Even if you mention that there's more condemned places in the city, houses in America actually that are the population of condemned houses is larger than the homelessness in America, which is absolutely astounding. That automatically caught my attention. But what is your plans? What do you think that you can do to advocate for housing?
There's a lot of things that I actually have for this particular issue that reflect some of my viewpoints back when I was the president of Black Lives Matter. What we need is transitional housing. We got a lot of people who are complaining about the existence of shelters and what that means for their neighborhoods and things like that. Well, we just need transitional housing, group home like structures that support individuals who may or may not have housing security, who may or may not suffer from substance abuse or alcoholism. We need places for individuals like these to have a second chance, third chance, fourth chance, however many chances as they need. Because what people don't understand, I don't know why, but people seem to think that we are all supposed to exist on a monolith where we all need to get up, go to work, and behave as if we are ants. We are human
Mm,
beings. And even if we were
right.
ants, sometimes ants get caught in hazards, they get caught in water, they get stomped on. That's what happens to people too. And then when in those events, they don't have support. But again, we are not ants. We can support each other. We can create the
Mm,
systems and the infrastructure needed to provide the aid that people need. We have a everybody for themselves mentality here in America,
right.
but it doesn't need to be that way, because we have enough of a structure to support everyone that exists here, um, whether you have problems
Richest
or
country in
not.
the world.
You know what I mean? And you just
Yeah.
think about it, like you were saying, there's millions of houses that are vacant right now, and
Right.
that amount of housing that's vacant is about 3 times the amount of the homeless population. So if we
Wow.
really think about it, we need to make sure we can afford to house individuals, and we don't even need to do it for free. What we can do is create transitional housing, and that can be funded by federal dollars or however we get the funding. It could even be funded by the people if we get enough of a supportive program. It could go for Black Lives Matter 86. So we had a program that we were attempting to start called the Neighborhood Housing Initiative. And what we were going to do is we were going to get 20,000 people to contribute $1 a week. And essentially, for less than the cost of a cup of coffee or a donut, you would essentially be putting your money into a pot where the community could buy housing, group home like settings, and fund the social work and the supports for the people who can occupy these spaces. And those people can be put through a transitional program where they can elevate. I want to do something akin to this, whether it is something we can do on the state level or something that we can do by funding nonprofits that have already gotten the groundwork done for things like this. And what's going to happen is our population, our homeless population in Connecticut is a few thousand. What's going to happen is we get a few
Yes.
homes in different areas. Um, we'll see people start to elevate out of poverty, start to elevate and no longer need the supports that they are not getting now. They're not getting the supports. We see people who are panhandling on the corners of the street, or people who are struggling with substance abuse, not having safe places to do their drugs and maybe even get help. We
Right.
can get these people help. We can support them, and it's not an impossibility, whether it's community based or through the state. And we also need to be making sure that when these housing projects go up, these big old apartment buildings they keep putting in Hartford and all over the state and all over the country, that no one can afford to move in, that they have
Yeah.
low income accessibility. 50% of all housing projects that go up, all apartment complexes that go up, need to have a low income precedent. Like, we need to make sure that low income individuals have access to housing so that they can elevate. We got archaic systems like Section 8, where if an individual makes too much money, their rent goes up, so they have no opportunity to save and elevate out of Section 8. So
That is
how
just
is
so
anyone
stupid.
supposed? It doesn't make any sense. So how are
Yeah.
we supposed to elevate and no longer need the supports if we have no opportunity to save a residual income because you are going to charge us more for being a part of Section 8? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, if we had the supports, if we had systems around us and the ability to save and create generational wealth by buying our own housing and things of that nature, and just elevating out of poverty, then what we would have is a stronger economy. We'd have a stronger tax base, because with more working individuals and more entrepreneurs coming up from a competitive market, whatever industry you're a part of, we'll have a stronger tax base. And what does that mean? When you have a stronger tax base, you have a lot more support. More money is in the economy now. If everyone is able to elevate out of poverty through transitional housing, whether that's 3 years, 5 years, however long it takes you to buy a house, now you have generational wealth. Now you're paying property taxes. So now your schools are better funded. And that's just if we're talking about getting better funding for the schools through property taxes. We could go, even to a deeper conversation about how we should be making our schools less property tax centric and more funded by everyone, supporting the education sector with everyone's assistance. That way we can achieve some equity.
Now you are a teacher.
Yes, I am an educator. I've been an educator for a few years now. I'm a substitute teacher now. But before I was a substitute teacher, I was a pre-K, a preschool teacher for 2 years, where we specialize in early childhood education,
Hmm.
another major
Yeah.
tenet of my campaign.
Yeah. that's really good because you have that experience. I don't think fully understands uh, struggles that teachers go through in the United States more than someone that actually does teaching because there's just so much. Teachers are always ostracized a lot. They're like always being questioned. What are you telling my child? Or it's more of that instead of people looking at the structures of these schools and what and the people behind it and all this stuff. It's a lot.
You know, I would say, and people, you could give me pushback if you want, but I believe that education and educators, that's the most important job in the world. Your doctor
Mm,
had a teacher, your therapist had a teacher, your mother was
right.
a teacher. So to me, when I think of an educator, I think of the most important career in the entire world. And for it to be completely ignored and unsupported and underfunded, to me is a disgrace to what we are as humanity. How
Mm,
we have elevated on a social level, on a mental capacity, on our mathematics, our physics, our understanding of the world around us. Uh, we could be so much further. We could be so much further if we chose to educate people, more proficiently and fund that area. But instead, we got a lot of money for the military and not our
right.
education system. You know, imagine if
Money
you
for
funded our
bombs.
education. Yeah, fund our
Right.
education system as well as you fund our military, then I'm pretty sure we would get to a point where we wouldn't even need military because we'd have
Right.
so many people who are so smart. They'd probably have figured out what world peace looks like. You know,
Right.
um, I jest, but my point is, if we funded our education system, our 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 uh, our growth would be exponential. Um, we'd have so much in the arts, we'd have so much in the sciences, and the mathematics. We would elevate, you know. If we funded our early childhood education system to be universal, much like our education system is now with the public school system, then we'd have people who are having a solid foundation when they go to elementary school, and they'll elevate. And what people don't know
Right.
is if you have a solid early childhood education, you're commit crimes because you have a stronger foundation. You have more knowledge and more ability to progress. So if we have all
Right.
these supports, we fund our education systems, pay our teachers better, have the social, emotional, and mental supports in the schools from support staff, then a lot of the issues that everybody keeps complaining about wouldn't even exist, or they'd be a lot less likely to occur.
Right. I agree. I just talking about poverty and the crime rate. For instance, like I noticed a lot of people that are talking about in New York used to live in these nice extravagant places in New York, and now that everything is, let's see, rent is like what average rent in Manhattan is $5,000. So that means a
Yeah,
lot of people are being displaced, and no people can afford that. So the crime rate automatically is going to go up, especially in Manhattan. So I'm seeing a lot of these white privileged people that are in Manhattan. I hear it all the time on the radio. It's always a white person. So anybody get mad at me about that? I'm sorry. I'm telling you the truth. They're always like, this was a nice neighborhood. Now I can't even do a jog on the Hudson without having a pocket knife in my hand or something like that. And I'm just like, it wasn't like that before. So now you're seeing what we have been seeing, what we was raised to see in these streets and stuff like that. It's finally at your front door. So I don't see the crime rate as going up. I see the crime rate as just moving around because this is what late stage capitalism is. they're they're
I
now
mean, and
seeing
if we really put things into perspective, man, if we had more opportunity in our neighborhoods, then there wouldn't even be any crime. If the
right,
if the government focused on job creation and making sure entrepreneurs had the upward mobility that they need in order to create jobs, and we're not talking about the five corporations or however many corporations
right,
that run everything. We're talking about individuals like myself who want to start a drink company, who want to start a comic book company. You know, these creative industries that could be bustling. You know, could be creating jobs and creating so much opportunity for people. But instead, you know, we choose not to. We choose not to offer opportunity, and instead we veer away from it, and we know why that is. Systemic
Right, right,
racism. You know,
right,
it's
right,
not it's not because we don't have the money or the ability to do it, because we do.
right,
And I'm sure there will be some missteps on the road, but that is the growing pains of what an economy looks like in general. So we can't even use that as an excuse. You know, some
right,
businesses fail, some don't. And what's going to happen is, you know, a business like mine, say I do get the traction that I do after we continue releasing future chapters. What are they going to tell me? They're going to be like, you know, what can anyone tell me? I'll be able to rise. You know, I'll be able to grow my campaign, my organization, my company, and I would have been able to grow it a lot sooner had I been had given access to capital. You know, and that's just the ugliness of it. As being a black person in America, they say you gotta tie yourself up by the bootstraps or some nonsense. In
right,
reality, man, we don't even got we ain't even got the opportunity. We ain't even got laces to do all that,
right.
you know, and that's just a metaphor. But we don't even
Yeah,
have the ability to tie ourselves up pick ourselves up by the bootstraps when we got so much things on our backs, you know.
right. And to be
Hard to
quick about
elevate out
that,
of a position.
to be quick about that, when we talk about opportunity, I definitely, I definitely can say as a testimony that is something that I can see the contrast in, because I was in trouble a lot as a teenager until my mother was like, "Okay, we're going to get you into this performing arts school," and that became literally all my time, and I fell in love with it. So what happened?
Right.
I stopped getting in trouble. Why did I stop getting in trouble? Because
Exactly.
I didn't have to be on the streets anymore. I was in the school in Trumbull, learning extra stuff after doing my extracurricular activities at the other school. Like I had a lot of things to do.
Exactly. And that's
They don't have that in the hood.
and that was that's what brings me to the education piece is, you know, even just on a local level, why aren't we just providing funding for the kids to have something to do after school? So that, like, if they want
Right.
to curate a program around, let's say I started a a comic book club at the end of the school day when we had bus duty, which is when kids used to go in the room and wait for their bus to come. So within that hour that we were waiting, kids used to just draw comic books and things. And I said, you know what? How about we just start a comic book club? And that was a way for kids to express themselves and get into something. And the minute that the bus waiting thing stopped, kids lost that opportunity. Now, if we had the
Mhm.
funding for at least 2 hours a day after school for kids to engage in, if they want to start a book club or a board game club or any kind of club that keeps their interest, rather than just some recreational activity just to occupy their time, you know, like the simple after school programs that we have now, programs based on interests. Hire staff, you pay $50 an hour, 2 hours a day, that's $100 a day, you know, just to come in and teach the kids how to sew or do anything, you know. And
Right.
if we had that kind of attention, that type of support, then, you know, kids would end up finding themselves a lot sooner. They'd find what their interests are, you know, and they progress, they grow.
Right.
And just like you said, you
Right.
you had the opportunity and it changed your life,
It
you know,
did.
changed the
I
direction
didn't
of your
care
entire
much about hanging out in the streets or anything. I was too busy playing video games on my free time, and also doing mad plays.
right,
And it takes a lot of work to do plays. You got to memorize all the lines
right.
and all that shit. Didn't have
You're
time to
proof.
get in trouble.
You're proof that like investment in children's interests can change the course of their life, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, this is a really good conversation, because that's just something that I always talk about 24/7, especially when people are saying like, "Oh, well, it's a different generation." Why is it always a different generation? It's still they're still kids. They're still going to be kids. Just give them more
Yeah, man.
opportunities. Don't say, "Oh, it's different now." That's an excuse.
It
You know?
doesn't. The thing is now we're more socially aware of the problem. You know,
Right.
it's crazy that people could still use that as an excuse when back in the day they were getting bullied and picked on and all types of things, and then they had to deal with it, and then they wonder why they're alcoholics and they're dealing with all this depression. And
Right.
now, we fight against all of that stuff, and people could be doing better, but now they're depressed for different reasons. Now we're financially depressed because we're unable to elevate
Mm-hmm.
out of these current economic holdings that we're in. So now we may not be dealing with some of the bullying as much, but we do have to deal with bullying on cyber level. There's still much of that going on, but we are dealing with newer stressors on top of that because now we're
Right.
more aware of what's going on. So how can we proceed and elevate over that? There's
Right.
so much
Right.
room for improvement, and people seem to used to think that America was this perfect place. Whenever we were never perfect, we've always had room for improvement. The thing is now, back in the day, they would go to different places all over the world and they would learn. Our government would learn. That's how we got our highways the way that we have them now. Not to say that our highways are anything that great anymore, but we went to Germany and they discovered the Autobahn and they said, you know what, we need something like that here. And so
I
we
did not
built
know that.
highways.
Wow.
Yeah, man, that's the
Oh,
history
wow.
of our highways. You can look it up, and that's how we got our highways as we are today. And there was a bunch of things that we've done in that manner throughout society, where we've
Mm.
learned something and we brought it over here, or we made a relationship with a foreign land, and they were able to give us something for a nicer cost than it would have been afforded here, and that's how our global economy is created. There's just so much learning that we've literally turned our backs on and then wonder why
Hmm.
we are in these dire strats, because we've turned our backs on the rest of the world when we could be learning from Sweden, we could be learning from Denmark, we could be learning. But we choose to do the opposite and just try to figure it out on our own when it's already been figured out.
Right. Right. You're right. And then moving on to your to wanting to something else I wanted to bring up on your platform, healthcare, which is woo. There's so many people in Connecticut alone that do not even know about the qualifications of getting into Husky, and there's
Right,
just so much debt that just on Connecticut alone. I know it's a huge global thing as well, but or a national thing as well. Because some countries got free healthcare. In fact, we're the
right,
only first world nation that does not have free healthcare. I like for everybody to
exactly.
remember that we're the only one. So, what are your plans
That's
for
because
healthcare?
so that's because we are a country ran by corporate greed. That's the reason
Right.
why we don't have universalized health care. And in the state of Connecticut, what has been introduced, I believe, during the last session is a bill to consider universal Husky. So we
Mm,
may be able to
interesting.
get something. We may be able to get something akin to a universalized healthcare system here. But who's to say? I believe that it's something we absolutely need, and we need more protections for individuals.
Right.
So big major part of my campaign is to enact legislation that provides more protections for Black and Brown women, because
Mm,
Black and Brown women die at a higher rate, and they
yep.
suffer from malpractice at a higher rate when giving
Right.
birth
Right.
to children in America. 60 out of 100,000 women die giving birth in America. So
Wow.
Black women specifically, Black and Brown women specifically, 60 out of 100,000, versus 20 out of 100,000 of white non-Hispanic women. So
Mm,
let's consider that's three times the amount of Black and Brown children that are dying when their mother is in labor. There's a problem. There's
there
a
is.
lack
Yeah.
of consideration. And it's not like our population is more, our population is less, yet we're dying 3 times the amount. That says a lot about our medical industry that is very racist. And part of my belief that we don't have universal health care now is because people don't want to support disenfranchised communities of color. So most of the reasons why I believe we don't have a lot of the social safety nets that we have now is because people want to be individualized, in charge of their own destiny, in spite of having a bunch of shortcuts and support that they've had through generational wealth that was afforded to them by racist systems. We don't have that, and they feel as though they have earned that. A lot of individuals have not earned it. They're coming off the backs of slavery.
Right.
Even corporations are coming up off the backs of slavery. Mark Cuban started something where they're cutting the middleman between drugs and people. And that has been doing great. It's something that I wish had been around this entire time because it's cutting the cost of our medication. And, hopefully that's something that continues to get support and growth so that we don't have to rely on these corporations to give us insulin and other drugs. We can get them for a lower cost, actual cost for what they are, until we reach that point where we are at a universalized healthcare system. There's so many ways that we need to go about this. So many issues that we need to fix. Being a first world nation and not having universal healthcare is ridiculous. We have so much focus on our military. So much focus on our military spending instead of focusing on making sure that we have protections of the people. It's crazy to me. A lot of people aren't going to want to join the military at some point, no matter how much you want to advertise it. We already seeing it with our police force right now. People don't want to be police officers, because there's no faith in that system. We are seeing what it's doing to the people, So what do they think they're going to have? We're going to force the draft again to get people to fight? It's
that's scary.
I feel as though we're gonna get to a point where there's not enough people enlisting, no matter how much you try to lure them in, with cars and housing and education and things like that. When those things should just be afforded to us, and then we'll be inspired to fight for our country. Like, this is a beautiful place. We have people to protect. We got our assets to protect. But instead we got people dying from disease. Got people suffering from disease. We got high rates of asthma in Black and brown communities, high rates of diabetes and hypertension in Black and brown communities. And that's because of the food deserts and poor environment that we are surrounded by. Garbage being processed in our neighborhoods, water being treated in our neighborhoods. It's a lot going on in our neighborhoods that could be that's killing us, And
so it sounds like, Michael, you're saying enhancing public safety is also great for healthcare as well, too.
And by what do you mean by enhanced public safety? Like I'm talking about environmental protection.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I was.
Environmental
protections.
Right. And that's a big part of my campaign too. There's ways for us to create a circular economy using our garbage, where our plastics can be recycled to be reused in the ways that they were used in the first place. A lot of people seen that type of stuff in Futurama, like where a person got a sandwich that was recycled into a new sandwich. I don't want anything as crazy and outlandish as that, but that idea can be used in practice for our plastics. That idea can be used for our composting. So with our food waste, we can grow more vegetation, because we can compost it and create things for our vegetation to get nutrients from. So there's ways to create a circular economy, not by definition, but it could be, our garbage could be repurposed. Big thing for me is use of technology that could melt down our garbage to strengthen our transportation infrastructure. because there's a way we could do that using plasma arc technology. What it does is it will melt down our garbage at high heats close to the temperature of the sun. It won't burn it, it'll melt it down, and it won't cause any carbon emissions. And what happens is it melts down into an aggregate that's akin to gravel. And that gravel can be used for road construction because it is rendered inert. It's a process that's so strong that what it can do is it can even render harmful chemicals inert. So that tells you that it's possible for us to create a circular economy, treat our garbage the way that it can be repurposed to do other things, like actually be recyclable. Because a lot of our recycling, the way that it operates now, is bogus, it's fake.
Right.
It's just all
Right.
thrown into the same place, and it's
Right.
piled up. And, we don't need to do that anymore. When we can melt it down, our roads are gonna, give out eventually. So we need to use that and build our roads and continue to create a circular economy. Because if you drive through Hartford now, man, there's some crazy potholes. Some damage one of your
Oh yeah, I know.
It's crazy, and if
Right.
we had a circular economy with our garbage, a lot of that would be alleviated right on the spot. But no, our transportation budget is abysmal because we don't have tolls in Connecticut, so we don't have that to supplement our transportation budget. So the money comes from all over the place, comes from anywhere we can get it allocated. And instead, we could be cutting costs by creating this new circular economy here. And that's what I'm hoping to instill once I'm in office, use of plasma arc technology so that we can maybe even lower our transportation taxes. So you probably even see lower costs at the pumps until we move over to more sustainable technologies like electric cars and things of that nature.
Wow. I've never heard of this idea. This sounds like a really good steel proof idea because a lot of people don't know
Yeah,
we throw
I
away
recommend.
so
Go ahead.
much. A lot of people don't know we throw away so much. Like they say that basically half the food that we consume, we throw away the other half in the United States. That's how much food we waste. And
Exactly.
we're throwing shit in Africa now because China doesn't want it, and that's ruining Africa's ecosystem. A lot of people don't know that those solar panels that everybody is so excited about having, they over time very quickly break, and
Hmm.
there's nothing they don't know what to do with them. So they dish them to Africa, and it's destroying their ecosystem. These are studies that people can look
That's
up
crazy.
now that it's coming out to light. Yeah.
Right.
So
It,
that's
instead, we could be building a circular economy, this more
right.
recyclable future where if it doesn't work anymore and we can't use it again, then we could turn it into road material. You know what I mean? There's always something that we can do. And as we elevate and learn more, this technology has only been around for but so long. I believe it's only been in general practice for about 20 years, really. You know, so
Very
that's
new.
why it's fairly new. It's fairly new. I mean,
Yeah.
there have been iterations of it throughout history, but as far as what I'm talking about on the scale that I'm talking about, where the where they're creating biofuel and creating aggregate for the roads and things, that has only been around for about 2 decades. So if we get this investment, do some R&D, and continue to build on this technology, who knows how far it can go. I'm envisioning a world where we have cleared our oceans of all of the plastics that are in it,
Right.
and melting that down and turning that into repurposed plastics and things. I think it's possible. I think if we just build up the infrastructure that we need, we'll see exponential growth of our planet. Extra exponential growth of the health of our planet, and that's the goal, man. We're killing our planet. We got people talking about leaving, going to the moon, going to the Mars, so you could
Right.
destroy that too. Come on, man. Come on.
Right. That's the only thing that's going to happen to Mars if we get a colony up there. Humans are just going to make it worse.
It's
That's a big fact right there. I like that you brought that up because a lot of people are excited about that, and I'm just like, we can't even get our shit done around here. Why the hell
Yeah,
you want to
we need to get our shit together here. Let's get our shit together here first, and then we could talk about what we're gonna do on Mars. You know?
Right, right, right. Because then you're gonna end up having some crazies up there doing the same shit. You know you gotta
Right? You
fix
know
that.
what? We're gonna fill Mars up with garbage now.
That's a bet. Or the space.
Right?
Every part of
Oh
space
man.
that we can get. Like look at not our solar system. Look at our planet. It's literally so much debris around the Earth that's in
Right.
space. Like we literally circled the whole entire Earth with our satellites and broken debris of whatever spaceships they try to put up there and rockets and all that stuff. Like that's what Mars is going to look like when we're done.
Right. Right. And I don't want that, man. I think that we need to be taking care of our planet. We need to, because I mean, our land mass is starting to disappear because we're creating so much carbon emissions, you know,
Right.
but it's melting our polar ice caps and it's consuming our land. Look at this heat wave that we're experiencing right now. It's
Right.
98 degrees all week.
All
Never
week.
felt
Yeah.
anything like this.
No, especially not
All
in
my
New
life.
England. Usually New England shifts.
Not in Connecticut. I have never felt it out here
Right.
before, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I want to thank you so much for coming on, Michael. We're getting close to the ending, and I don't want to take any more of your time. I definitely want everybody to definitely check out his website, his campaign website, www.michaelforct.org. Donate. That's what I'm going to do as soon as I get off with him. I'm going to go donate as well too because we need candidates like this. And this is why it's so important to not just focus on Republican and Democrat Party. Last thing, is there a Democrat that's opposing you or a Republican that's
Yeah,
opposing you?
so there's a guy by the name of John Fonfara. He's the incumbent. He's been in office for 26 years now. I want people
Hasn't
to think
done
about
shit.
that. This individual's been in office for 26 years. This
26
demographic, you know what I mean? Like he's been representing a demographic for 26 years now. And the other day, about a few years ago, he said to a black woman who was lobbying in the Capitol, she had a "Stands with Black Women" pin on. Just like right, you see, I have a pin on my collar. It says "Stands with Black Women," and he comes up to her, you know, and he says, "I should wear a "Stands with White Men" pin." And he says maybe she should take a walk in his shoes one day, walk a mile in his shoes one day. And she was at loss for words.
What?
And this is a large portion of his district is black and brown.
Right.
No matter, right. I guess he went through some sort of rehabilitative training. But if I have to go through some sort of rehabilitative training to represent my district, I don't need to be representing my district. Same way with our police force. If I got to go through rehabilitative training to do a good job being a police officer because I keep fucking up, then I don't need to be a police officer. You know, no one needs to be in these positions if they need to be taught how to represent their community. To me, that doesn't really make any sense. You need to be retaught how to represent the community, the place that you're from.
Right.
That just sounds illogical. You know, I don't need to be taught that that black women need support. I don't need to be taught that white people have more support than us because I can see it. You know what I mean? I can see it in my neighborhoods. Right. I can see it. I don't need to be taught these things. I don't need to be taught that that black women need more protections because I know people who are struggling. You know, I don't need to be taught that early child education needs to be universalized. Because I'm an early childhood educator, I see it firsthand. So I'm a direct member of this community. I see these things firsthand. I don't think anybody who can't see the issues or at least communicate with the community that they represent on a regular basis should represent their community. And that's why I think that everyone in office needs to be an activist. If you are not an activist, then you cannot effectively represent your community. An activist knows that they need to fight for what their community needs. If they see an issue, they see it, they talk about it. That's what needs to be in office. Everybody needs to be an activist. If you're not an activist for any specific issue, well, then you can't run for office, bro. You shouldn't even want to. What are you running for office for? What are you doing? Why do you want to do this if you're not going to help protect the people that you're elected to represent? So that's just my opinion. Old man need to go. To be honest, there's a Democratic hold on the state of Connecticut. Is a Democratic hold. People will just vote Democrat regardless of what they stand on. And that needs to change. I'm hoping that people will wake up and see that I'm a good candidate regardless of the party line, opposed to voting for the party line. Let's vote for the individual.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. And definitely wish you best of luck. And shouts out to the Green Party, and shouts out to everybody, all the freedom fighters. And I hope everyone have a really good day. Thank you so much, Michael. Have a good day.
Blank period, yeah. I'm a black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system.